Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Some new happenings and some new revelations in the murder of Sunshine Stewart, age 48. Of course, we all know that there was an arrest, but there was some new revelations in regards to the investigation. And we know that a teen was arrested. Um, and we know now that he's going to be charged as an adult. His name is Devin Young, and he's a male, white, 17 years old. Uh, so a 17-year-old male entered a denial on Friday morning, July 18th, to a charge that he murdered Sunshine Sonny Stewart in Union. Devin Young made his initial court appearance by Zoom from the Long Creek Youth Development Center in South Portland. The hearing was held at the state court in Knox County. Judge Eric Walker ordered Young to be continued to be held on the charge that he intentionally, knowingly, or with depraved indifference caused the death of Stewart on July 2nd at Crawford Lake in Union. Defense attorney Jeremy Pratt had unsuccessfully argued to have the hearing closed to the public, but Judge Walker ordered the hearing to be opened. Judge Walker agreed, however, to keep the police affidavit sealed until a status conference is held on August 22nd. The state was represented by Assistant Attorneys General Lisa Bogue and Suzanne Russell. Bogue did not object to unsealing the affidavit that would detail what led to Young's arrest. Pratt asked for it to remain sealed, and Judge Walker agreed until the status conference. The Midcoast Villager had requested that the judge make the juvenile petition charging Young and hearing public. The initial appearance hearing lasted about 5 minutes. The state has filed a motion for the case to be bound over to adult court. That motion was not discussed at the July 18th hearing. This issue is important because if he is tried as an adult and convicted, he would face a minimum of 25 years in prison and up to life in prison. Young, who turns 18 in 2 months, could be sentenced to juvenile detention until he turned 21 years old, meaning a maximum of 3 years. Paperwork filed in court states that he is 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighs 250 pounds. So he would have easily have overpowered Sunshine Stewart, as athletic and as strong as she was. This was a male, 5 foot 8 inches tall, 250 pounds. So some of the new information we have in regards to this case comes from the owner of the camp. And we talk about how important the canvass that the police did in this case is. And the owner of the camp actually did her own canvass and canvassed her Ring camera. And lo and behold, found Devin Young on the Ring camera going out on the lake on a motorboat at approximately the same time or shortly thereafter Sunshine Stewart did. So, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your loved ones, hold on to your thoughts. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
And now a word from our sponsor. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From Major League Baseball, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet online, the game starts here. So we've covered this case from the beginning when it was a missing person, when Sunshine Stewart was listed as a missing person. And then shortly thereafter, I believe at 12:30 a.m., her body was found by local fire department people searching, EMS workers. And they discovered her body. And it was in a position that indicated to them that there was foul play. So they immediately called up the Maine State Police and they responded to the scene. And this became almost immediately, thereafter the missing person case, this became a homicide investigation. And that was then verified by the autopsy conducted that told the cause of death was blunt trauma plus asphyxia. And the cause of death was homicide, death caused by another. So from that point on, they were looking for a suspect in this case. And lo and behold, they discovered who the perpetrator was. But not immediately. They have done a great bit of investigation with this case. I want to play this because this was the owner of the camp who was so important in this investigation and gave the police some really, really detailed and important information that, of course, led to the perpetrator.
Child. We were looking for an adult.
This morning, the owner of the campground where Sunshine Stewart and the 17-year-old now charged with killing her both stayed is speaking out.
Never, ever did I ever expect anything remotely like this to happen here. It's absolutely shocking.
Catherine Lunt, the owner of Micmac Campground for 18 years, met Stewart in April as she was setting up camp for a summer on the water.
Sunny was very excited to be on the lake and paddleboard, and she said if you know any kids that want to learn or any adults, we could do yoga on the beach.
Early evening July 2nd, Stewart took a swim, then hopped on her paddleboard to explore splendid Crawford Pond. She never returned. Police found her strangled and bludgeoned to death on 100-acre island. While rescue teams searched the water for answers, Lunt reviewed her surveillance cameras for any sign of the killer.
I know every vehicle that comes in this campground. I know every camper. I know where they work. I know what they do for a living. I decided that it was best for me to review the footage because I was looking for a stranger, somebody out of the ordinary.
2 weeks later, authorities identified the suspect as 17-year-old Devin Young. Young was taken into custody Thursday and charged with depraved indifference murder. Prosecutors said they intend to try the teen as an adult.
I looked at the surveillance, went back to the surveillance cameras to see where he was at the time. And those surveillance videos indicated he was on the lake at the time.
Lunt said the teen had taken out a small fishing boat less than an hour before Stewart went paddleboarding. She said there's no indication the two had ever interacted at the campground. His family has visited before, and Lunt said during the 2-week investigation, he went nowhere.
The fact that this individual was in this campground for 2 weeks is haunting. He was not on anyone's radar. That whole week, he was offering campers help with different tasks that they were doing. He acted like nothing ever happened.
Lunt said Young even tried to help the case.
He volunteered. He said he had some information, and he took him in the opposite direction of where Sunny was found.
Now, the shaken community is remembering the woman known as Sunny.
She was just a shining light that was so excited to be here and enjoy her summer. Somebody lost their life, a beautiful individual just going out for a paddle and never came back, and that's not fair.
Devin Young has denied the murder charge. We spoke to his attorney, who had no comment about anything the campground owner told us. Police have said nothing about motive so far, and Catherine Lunt said she has no idea what happened on the water or in the woods. Only, guys, that Sunshine Stewart was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
This is so incredibly sad on so many levels.
And chilling.
So, we spoke about this case right in the very beginning, and we sort of waxed on about how difficult this was going to be to solve. And some of the same, in homicide investigation, there are, just like in the medical field, in science, there are checklists that investigators do. And they can't just stay with the checklist. They got to think outside the box. But one of the biggest checklists in a case like this, of course, is canvassing the locations. Speaking in this case to the owner of this camp. And then also do what's called a video canvas. People would not expect on these lakes, on these little camps, that they would have video. But these days, video is all over the place. And this video that belonged to this woman who owned the camp, Catherine Lunt, who owns the Micmac camp, she checked the video herself. And lo and behold, what did she find? She found the person who turned out to be the perpetrator, Devin Young, who you see on this thumbnail at the top wearing the red shirt there, having gone out on the lake shortly thereafter the victim went out on the lake. Is that an important piece of investigative information? You bet it is. You bet it is, right? And then what did the police start to do? Well, they started collecting DNA from males, swabbing DNAs, and that would be done voluntarily. So if they would ask someone for a buccal swab of their DNA, and if they said no, they wouldn't proceed. But if they said yes, they would take it voluntarily. So we don't know yet if Sunshine Stewart has DNA on her belonging to Devin Young. But that is a very good chance that there is. And that would be a nexus between Sunshine Stewart and Devin Young. How about checking the boat, the little motorboat he went out in? Is it a possibility that he hit her with the oar from the boat and then she died either of blunt force trauma or asphyxia? Checking, of course, inside that paddle boat for DNA evidence. This person, Devin Young, there was some, prior to him getting caught and arrested, there was some information on Facebook that he had some mental health issues. So I don't think that the investigation is as clear as the owner of the camp, Catherine Lunt, is saying. I think there is a distinct possibility that he may have seen Sunshine Stewart prior to this violent interaction. He may have been targeting her. The state police have said nothing about motive. That's not unusual. They're trying to keep that a secret. His motive. What was his motive in this? And I have said early on, I believe when the state police do finally release the motive, I believe it's going to be something to do with a sex crime, believe it or not. I hate to say that, but I firmly believe that that's what's going to turn out, that this was an attack, a sexual attack. And as I said, I have no evidence other than a hunch, and the way she was found and the way she was discovered and the fact that she died of blunt trauma and asphyxia. Because there's no doubt in my mind that Sunshine Stewart fought for her life. Everything we know about her, everything, how athletic she was, microbiologist, former bartender, a builder, right? A lobster boat captain. She was a woman of the world, many talented, multi-talented. And so she wasn't someone that was going to be an easy takedown for this guy, even though he was 5'8" and 250 pounds. I'm sure that she fought for her life, for every inch of her life. And there's a good chance there's DNA underneath her fingernails of the perpetrator. which would nail his coffin shut. You know, the other day, everyone was talking about this boy, you know, this juvenile. He's 17 years old. He's 2 months from his 18th birthday, which would make him a man. It seems that the state attorney general has already decided to charge him as an adult, which makes him eligible for a sentence of 25 to life instead of being released at the age of 21 upon his 21st birthday. So let's hope that that's going to be the case, that he's going to be charged as an adult.
Mentioned Maine's Total Coverage has confirmed the Attorney General petitioned for 17-year-old Devin Young to be tried as an adult. Nora Hogan is here now to help us get the facts. So Nora, what does this process entail?
Well, Kathleen, now that the state has filed this petition, which at this time is sealed, the court will schedule what's called a bind-over hearing. During that hearing, the judge will consider whether the juvenile had a violent history, whether they present a serious danger to others, and how serious the alleged crime is. Juvenile bind-overs are reserved for Class A, B, or C crimes, but in practice, it's usually only considered for manslaughter or murder cases. They'll take a look at how violent, intentional, or premeditated the crime was as well. If someone is found guilty as a juvenile, the state can only hold them in custody until they turn 21, no matter how serious the crime. If charged for murder as an adult, they could face a sentence of 25 years to life. We're still working on a public records request for more data, but for now we know that Maine juveniles have been charged as adults at least 5 times in the last 20 years. In studio, I'm Nora Hogan, getting the facts from Maine's Total Coverage.
So important to find out who is Devin Young? Does he have a criminal history? Does he have a mental health issue? That could also affect how he's charged. Of course, the defense, if he has a mental health history, they'll harp upon that as trying to make him not criminally responsible because of his mental health history. I don't want to jump ahead of the gun with this, but that's one of the arguments they could make. Does he have a criminal history? There was some information on Facebook that, and again, that's not solid information, but that he was a bully around the camp. So did Catherine Lunt, the owner of the camp, did she know about him? And is she not saying what she knows about him? That remains to be seen. But she may know a lot more about Devin Young than she's letting on. Don't forget, she is now liable for this. This was her camp that this murder originated from. So she may not be telling us everything that she knows or we want to know.
Never, ever did I ever expect anything remotely like this to happen here. It's absolutely shocking.
The owner of the campground where Sunny Stewart and her alleged killer were staying is speaking out about what happened on Crawford Pond nearly 3 weeks ago. Catherine Lund says after working with police and reviewing security footage, she discovered the teenager was on the lake around the time of the homicide. She says there's no indication the two had ever interacted at the campground.
The fact that this individual was in this campground for 2 weeks is haunting. He was not on anyone's radar. He said he had some information, and he took him in the opposite direction of where Sunny was found.
The teenager now charged with Sunny Stewart's murder is still in custody at the Long Creek Youth Development Center in South Portland. A judge has yet to issue a decision on whether he will be tried as an adult. And until that ruling comes, we are not using his name in our reporting as he is still considered a juvenile.
You know, I spoke about on other shows about the responsibility, the crime, the age, and the responsibility. What they used to refer to not being responsible because of your age, they used to refer to it as infancy. So would you consider a 17-year-old an infant? But that's what they called it. So he's 2 months from his 18th birthday. So I believe he's been charged. He's been arraigned. The criminal instrument has been drawn up. I'm not going to protect his identity. He's, to me, you know, this juvenile age of less than 18. I think it's ridiculous, you know, Juveniles all over this country commit murders. And when they do, they should be charged as adults, not as juveniles. And think of Sunshine Stewart now. She's dead. 48-year-old woman, really well accomplished woman, lost her life. And now the semantics of this is this young boy, as they were calling him, is actually a young man, 5'8", 250 pounds, who violently took Sunshine Stewart life, her life, a woman that glowing reports about her from everyone. Everyone seemed to love this woman. So accomplished, such a great person. And now the semantics of it, that this young man, this young boy, should we charge him as a juvenile or should he be charged as an adult? That's what everyone's arguing about right now. I don't think there's any doubt when the smoke clears and when they see that the motive for this attack is what I believe it was. I believe it was an attempted sex crime. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be charged as an adult. So you could throw away that juvenile being charged as a baby boy, No, he's going to the big house. He's going to be charged as an adult. And teen faces charges, right? 17 years old. And again, we can argue over the semantics of this. Is 17 too young to charge someone with a crime like this? Is it too young to be charged as an adult? Well, you tell me. Sunshine Stewart lost her life, 48 years old. She went out on a lake, paddleboarding, have some fun, some relaxation, right? Relaxation out on the lake. She was so willing to teach others how to paddleboard. She was a teacher. She was many things in this life. And no one has the right to take your life from you. And that's what happened here. Because we know what happened. We know that besides the fact that the autopsy told us her cause of death was asphyxia and blunt trauma, we know by the way her body was discovered, the position it was in, that it was a murder. Just absolutely horrific.
This morning, the Maine teen now charged with murdering Sunshine Stewart is in juvenile detention, but prosecutors say they intend to try him as an adult. Prosecutors say 17-year-old Devin Young acted with depraved indifference to Stewart's life when he allegedly strangled and bludgeoned her to death shortly after she went paddleboarding on Crawford Pond.
This is the spot where Sunshine Stewart left on her paddleboard. She put the board in the water, went for a quick swim, came up on that ladder, got on the board, and paddled out to 100-acre island. Around the back side of that island is where her body was found.
Stewart was at the same rustic campground in Union, Maine, where sources told ABC News Young has spent summers with his family for the last several years. The sources said he remained at the campground for 2 weeks between the time Stewart was killed and he was arrested.
It's unfathomable to me that this could be perpetrated by a young man, a teenage boy.
Young made his initial appearance in court via video conference. He denied the allegations and was ordered held until his next court date in August, in part, the judge said, to prevent him from inflicting bodily harm on others. Friends of Stewart, who was known as Sunny, are remembering her as a remarkable, charismatic person who touched many lives.
She just lived such a really unique and wonderful life, and she touched so many people, and I just want the focus now to be on how she lived.
Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
So, again, this wonderful woman, 48 years old, Sunshine Stewart, very accomplished woman, lobster boat captain. I just think that's so cool. She's a captain of a boat, microbiologist, builder. She could build homes. And then she worked on the island of St. John's as a bartender years ago. And they already have plans for a memorial service for her, celebration of her life, because that's who she was. She was about life. She was about living. And this individual here, Devin Young, who you see at the top of this thumbnail, apparently or has been charged with taking her life through blunt trauma and strangulation, or commonly known as asphyxia. So all of these things will be taken into consideration. But at the meantime, Sunshine Stewart is no longer among the living. She lost her life to someone who stole her life, someone who took her life from her. And just absolutely outrageous that this can happen in this world we live in. But guess what? It does, and it did happen. And I want to also say kudos to the Maine State Police that did such an outstanding job on this case.
Found dead 2 weeks ago. Police say a 17-year-old is in custody, and our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, is in Union, Maine with more. Good morning, Aaron.
And good morning to you, Michael. One woman told us she's resting easier now that there has been an arrest in the case. This is the campground where Sunshine Stewart was last seen alive. And about a 10-minute walk down this path is the private pond where she went paddleboarding and where police say she was killed by a teenage boy. This morning, a 17-year-old is in custody, accused of killing 48-year-old Sunshine Stewart. The arrest a relief for the small rustic community rattled by murder.
Everybody wants to know the whole story right now, and that's going to take a process, and we all need to be patient and let them continue that work.
Stewart was last seen paddleboarding on Crawford Pond. Sources say she was found strangled and bludgeoned to death on 100-acre island, her paddleboard located using a drone. The 17-year-old arrested for her murder was on vacation with his family.
How could this happen? And the fact that it's a 17-year-old suspect is just really, unbelievable.
The owner of the campground where Stewart had been staying, saying in a statement she is 100% shocked. I wasn't expecting this to be a child, expecting it to be a stranger, an adult. For 2 weeks, Maine State Police hunted for the killer, asking people in the area for DNA samples as part of the investigation. Stewart's friends clinging to their memories of the woman they knew as Sunny.
She was a light. People were drawn to her. She was charismatic. She was so fun and so funny, and she was a wonderful friend.
The 17-year-old is now being held at a juvenile detention center near Portland. George, people here are still baffled, not only that the alleged killer is so young, but that he summered among them. George?
Okay, Aaron.
Just outrageous, just so outrageous. But you know something, you have to take your hat off to the Maine State Police, who did an outstanding job. And in addition, Catherine Lunt, the owner of the camp, the Micmac camp, came up with the video that showed the perpetrator, and that's all I'll call him. There he is right there. Devin Young showed the perpetrator going out on the lake at the same time as Sunshine Stewart. So we're going to keep following this case. It's so tragic, and our prayers go out to the family and friends of Sunshine Stewart. And we hope that the T's are crossed and the I's dotted in this case, so that the person responsible for this feels the full extent of the law and the full extent of the crime that he committed. Folks, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, make comments, and share it. Share this video with your friends. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Have a great night, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.